we got to talk about impatient conservatives. That's right, impatient conservatives. Now, why do I say that? Why do I bring this up? Well, I think the reason is pretty obvious. It's the elephant in the room, and that is the whole border wall kerfuffle. This has been a very big promise from Trump since the election cycle. We're going to build the wall. We're going to build it 10 feet higher. Mexico's going to pay for it. This has been a thing that has been promised to us, and a lot of us have voted for Trump because of that. We wanted that wall, and we still want that wall right now. It's been 2 years almost since he's been in office, since he's been inaugurated, and the wall is not here right now. We're like, where's it at? Now, I need to back up a little bit to kind of explain how we've gotten here today and why there seems to be so much impatience from conservatives about this whole issue. Now, like I said, the border wall has been promised since the election, and there's been many times throughout the presidency where he's been trying to get things done, trying to get funding for it, but he's not really been able to be effective. Not totally. You're able to add extra security, like, more Border Patrol agents, which is good. You're able to have a deterrent from people coming, which has resulted in a dramatic decrease in the border approaching and crossing illegally. But the wall's not there. Just recently, you had the whole government shutdown situation. I'm not sure if the government will shut down or if it won't, because today is Thursday, December 20th. I think that if there's no funding by tomorrow or Saturday, the government could shut down, but we'll get to that a little bit later. So it was this whole big dust up in the White House between Trump, Nancy Pelosi, and Chuck Schumer over the border wall funding. And I think that he did this publicly for a reason. Chuck and Nancy probably didn't want to have this meeting publicly. They thought, in my opinion, they were coming to the Oval Office to have a private meeting. But when they got there, all the cameras were there and people are streaming live and stuff like that. So we're able to see exactly what we're dealing with as far as the inability to get things done within the government that Trump has to deal with. Trump is not a king. He cannot rule by fiat. He cannot just say, I declare a wall and it gets built immediately. That's not how it goes. You still got to do with government, but we'll get to that in a moment. So Trump had this whole thing between Chuck and Nancy about the border wall funding. He wants $5 billion from Chuck, who is a Senate minority leader, and Nancy, who is a House minority leader, soon to be Speaker of the House. They're saying, nah, we don't want the wall. We'll give you $1.3 billion for fencing and security. So Trump was like, okay, if we can't get what we want, we're going to shut the government down. Now, out of the White House, I think on Tuesday, it was a quote unquote signal that they may cave, and people are upset about that. First of all, I don't know about caving. All that happened on Tuesday was a bill came from the Senate that did not have the $5 billion in border wall funding in it. However, Mitch McConnell, the Senate majority leader, came out and counteroffered the Democrats with 1.6 for border fencing and an extra $1 billion for unspecified immigration expenditures. Now, I don't know what that could be, but $1 billion for unspecified things, that sounds like border wall funding to me. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right, I don't know. When Trump came out with the $5 billion mark, I was thinking from the beginning, okay, if he's at $5 billion and they're at $1.3 billion, they'll probably meet somewhere in the middle, and that should be sufficient enough to get the border wall completed. That was my whole thinking from the beginning. But people, maybe they don't understand that, or maybe they think about it that way, or maybe they just see what was reported to them about the funding not including the $5 billion. What I don't know for 100% certain is what's in there. All I know is that it could be the 1.3 that Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi were trying to give Trump from the beginning, or it could be the 1.6 plus the extra 1, which is 2.6 billion for border fencing. I don't want to say border wall because that was not expressly said, and also extra border security. Either way it goes, it appears like they're going through negotiation, which is what you have to do if you don't have the necessary votes to be able to just say, I declare it, and then it's done. Trump's not a king. He cannot rule by fiat. People are saying, oh, I'm not going to vote for Trump again if he doesn't get the border wall funding passed right now. Although he's only halfway through his first term, I'm not going to vote for him again. Well, who are you going to vote for? I mean, let's think about it like this. Let's just be rational. Just take a deep breath and think for a moment. Who are you going to put in there? A rhino Republican, an establishment guy that's going to do whatever the deep state tells him to do. If you have an establishment guy in there, the border wall will be just, it wouldn't even happen. There would be no hope for it. If you put a guy like Beto O'Rourke in there in 2020, like if the Republican base just stays at home and doesn't vote, and the Democrats come out in droves, which they are going to do, election fraud and all that, if they do that, then they're going to put a guy like Beto O'Rourke or creepy Joe Biden in there. Is that who you want? That'd be even worse. So we just got to kind of count our blessings and also be patient. I knew from the very beginning that what Trump was trying to do would not be an easy task to accomplish. You're talking about a lot of different moving parts in this whole situation. You got never Trumpers on the left and the right. You got deep state operatives. You have the government itself, which, again, Trump cannot rule by fiat. You cannot make an executive order and say, okay, we're going to build the wall, $5 billion. That's not how it's going to be. You have to get both sides of the government on board. And Trump also said that he would use the military to go and reinforce the border. So we're going to have border security if the wall is not built right now. But I'm totally confident that the wall will be built. But you got to have some patience. So what do you think? Do you think the border wall will be built? And if you don't think that way, please explain to me why you think that way. Do you think that Trump is caving on this whole situation, that he won't get the $5 billion, that he'll settle for the 1.3? One thing I saw before I close is that Trump allegedly was originally offered $20 billion by Chuck Schumer, but Trump wanted extra caveats to legal immigration. He wanted to cap that more. Okay, because the border walls are fine and dandy, but if you still got the birth tourism, the unregulated, just dishing out of visas and stuff like that, the border wall would be irrelevant. You'd be able to fly over the border wall with a plane, essentially, and come here and still be illegal. So I think that Trump and those that really have our best interests at heart in the government want to have total immigration reform rather than just a wall, but then visas, unnecessarily H-1Bs, H-2Bs, under the table workers, stuff like that we don't need. Let's have a total immigration reform and the wall, but get a man some time. We're only 2 years in. Rome was not built in a day. That's all I got to say, but whatever your comments are,